However, no one should judge that he has greater perfection because he performs great penances and gives himself in excess to the slaying of his body than he who does less, inasmuch as neither virtue nor merit consist therein. For otherwise, he would be in an evil case, who, from some legitimate reason, was unable to do actual penance. Merit consists in the virtue of love alone, flavored with the light of true discretion, without which the soul is worth nothing. And this love should be directed to me endlessly, boundlessly, since I am the supreme and eternal truth. The soul can therefore place neither laws nor limits to her love for me, but her love for her neighbor, on the contrary, is ordered in certain conditions. The light of discretion, which proceeds from love, as I have told you, gives to the neighbor a conditioned love, one that, being ordered aright, does not cause the injury of sin to self in order to be useful to others. For, if one single sin were committed to save the whole world from hell, or to obtain one great virtue, the motive would not be a rightly ordered or discreet love, but rather indiscreet. For it is not lawful to perform even one act of great virtue and profit to others by means of the guilt of sin. Holy discretion ordains that the soul should direct all her powers to my service with a manly zeal, and that she should love her neighbor with such devotion that she would lay down 1,000 times, if it were possible, the life of her body for the salvation of souls, enduring pains and torments, so that her neighbor may have the life of grace, and giving her temporal substance for the profit and relief of his body. This is the supreme office of discretion, which proceeds from charity. So you see how discreetly every soul who wishes for grace should pay her debts, that is, should love me with an infinite love and without measure, but her neighbor with measure, with a restricted love, as I have said, not doing herself the injury of sin in order to be useful to others. This is St. Paul's counsel to you when he says that charity ought to be concerned first with self. Otherwise, it will never be of perfect utility to others. Because when perfection is not in the soul, everything which the soul does for itself and for others is imperfect. It would not, therefore, be just that creatures, who are finite and created by me, should be saved through offense done to me, who am the infinite good. The more serious the fault is in such a case, the less fruit will the action produce. Therefore, in no way should you ever incur the guilt of sin. And this true love knows well, because she carries with herself the light of holy discretion, that light which dissipates all darkness, takes away ignorance, and is the condiment of every instrument of virtue. Holy discretion is a prudence which cannot be cheated, a fortitude which cannot be beaten, a perseverance from end to end, stretching from heaven to earth, that is, from knowledge of me to knowledge of self, and from love of me to love of others. And the soul escapes dangers by her true humility, and, by her prudence, flies all the nets of the world and its creatures, and with unarmed hands, that is, through much endurance, discomfits the devil and the flesh with this sweet and glorious light. Knowing by it her own fragility, she renders to her weakness its due of hatred. Wherefore she has trampled on the world and placed it under the feet of her affection, despising it and holding it vile, and thus becoming lord of it, holding it as folly. And the men of the world cannot take her virtues from such a soul, but all their persecutions increase her virtues and prove them, which virtues have been at first conceived by the virtue of love, as has been said, and then are proved on her neighbor, and bring forth their fruit on him. Thus have I shown you that if virtue were not visible and did not shine in the time of trial, it would not have been truly conceived. For I have already told you that perfect virtue cannot exist and give fruit except by means of the neighbor, even as a woman who has conceived a child, if she do not bring it forth so that it may appear before the eyes of men, deprives her husband of his fame of paternity. It is the same with me, who am the spouse of the soul. If she do not produce the child of virtue in the love of her neighbor, showing her child to him who is in need, both in general and in particular, as I have said to you before, so I declare now that, in truth, she has not conceived virtue at all. And this is also true of the vices, all of which are committed by means of the neighbor.